Today was definitely a day of confessions.
I did not recall remembering, that's stupid English. I do apologize if that is how it comes out, but, and to say that my apology, in fairness, commissioners.
Advocate Andrea Johnson confessed to everything, from the lies she told at the Madlanga Commission, to her apologizing, to the fact that they actually don't have any case against Dumisani Khumalo. It was just a good day where we saw her taking some form of accountability. But is it too late?
If I make some... No. You are being grossly unfair to Mrs. Mokwele. Now you are attributing conduct of persons she has no knowledge of to her. In the future, no how. And you are saying you accept that she may be required to access those funds in the course of execution of her job. But the impression you create here at this 25.3 is that she would do so to loot. So that apology that I think you sought to extend to her, you might as well take it back.
We've also heard that President Cele Ramaphosa has finally written a suspension and is only waiting for her to conclude her testimony at the Madlanga Commission.
Calls for Andrea Johnson herself to be suspended by the president. Is that likely, very briefly?
Most certainly, our sources are saying it's already in the pipeline. The letter may even have been signed. And the minute she's going to be finished here at the Madlanga Commission, she's probably going to be suspended.
It looks like the world of Andrea Johnson is crumbling down. But she's not the only one whose world is crumbling down. The advocate of Vusimuzi, Matlala, was grilling Mr. Cele to a point that it looked like his testimony was filled with a lot of lies. It didn't end well for these two individuals.
So now you are blatantly lying to this honorable court. I can't put it in nicer words. And if you're lying about something this simple, I wonder what else you are lying to this court about.
In this video, let us talk about everything that has been happening with regards to the Madlanga Commission as well as the Matlala trial. Let us first start with the Madlanga Commission and Andrea Johnson. So I'll first start with the suspension before we can get to the testimony. So it looks like Andrea Johnson might be suspended very soon. And it looks like very soon we'll see a situation whereby she would leave that office. But what we know for sure is that even if she leaves that office, we know a lot, and we know a lot enough that we think that actually this suspension is actually for the best. In my view, I think the suspension will actually be a lenient punishment for her. She deserves prison for what they have done to Miss Mokwele.
Then this was an arbitrary decision, not based on any facts. And because of it being an arbitrary decision, it is a use of investigative powers for ulterior purposes. If it is not explained satisfactorily for ulterior purposes, then we have that to ask the question, what was the purpose?
So let us get to the testimony and what it was about. So it first started with the names of the people that were supposed to be investigated and arrested by IDAC. So we know that after that Section 27, when it was botched and they actually went and solicited the affidavit from Adams, you know what happened? They then continued with the investigations. And today, the problem was that particular investigations in terms of Section 28, but we'll get to that. Let us first start with the names. So what they did is that they got that Section 27, a referral from Adams, but they realized that that Section 27 referral does not have enough. It only has 6 names. And according to them, I guess that was not enough. Then it happened that, which means Perumal decided that, you know what, we want more names, give us more names. And that's when they gave them more names. However, Perumal is also changing the story to Andrea Johnson and is saying that he doesn't remember if indeed he gave Andrea the names. But according to Andrea, he got the names from Perumal. which is the edit names that ended up being 12 officials that were part of this case that is about the appointment of Dineo Mokwele.
First day that you testified, as you were reading your statement, the question kept coming up, do you have anything that regulates this internally? And you kept saying, it's how we practice, it's what we do. So the comment comes from that context, that you seem to have these unwritten rules of how we do things, and which allow people, your people, to make it up as they go along. If Mr. Perumal, Chief Perumal, wants to speak to Mr. Adams, there's no prescribed process that wait until we've made a decision. If what you say happened is in fact what happened, then you're telling us there's no prescribed process that he can be held to that says to him, until there is a decision that we are taking this matter on, you may not engage with a complainant or any potential witness because this and this and this could go wrong, right? About it, we all have to wait until a decision is made. If you don't have that kind of operating procedure prescribed, you could never blame him for rushing off to go and hold his conversation, whatever the content of the conversation may be, including if he chooses to prompt witnesses, give me names, you have names, your affidavit doesn't have names, give me names, and what are you saying about those names? There's nothing that you could say you acted out of the boundaries of what is acceptable.
So then what they did is that they took that Section 27 referral and gave it to an attorney called Ramsamy. So Advocate Ramsamy is a very, in my view, is a very questionable advocate and a figure in all of this. She's an EFF member and she's an advocate at IDAC. And she plays a very big role in all of this because she's the one that actually thought there's a prima facie case and there's reasonable suspicions in that Section 27 referral for them to start with the Section 2813 or subsection 13 investigations, which are preliminary investigations. So according to them, the dockets had all the information that they needed, had all the allegations that they needed. She was satisfied as an advocate. And it's very questionable that she's also an EFF member, the very EFF that its leader not long ago said that Andrea Johnson is the Mama Winnie Mandela of our times. And we didn't understand what is actually going on. So it looks like there is some relationships between the IDAC, the EFF, yeah, guys, it's a whole lot of mess. But this video is not about the EFF. It's about Andrea Johnson because that lady has to take accountability.
Yesterday, I did indicate that he contacted Mr. Adams to indicate he must provide a Section 27. So he's aware of that process only, from my understanding. But what engagements he would have had with him in between that process, commissioners, I'm unable to take further, except that he would have spoken to Mr. Adams, had him provide the Section 27. Accordingly, I received a document in an envelope. I perused the document, which is the Section 27, and I then handed that to Advocate Ramsamy for the legal process of submitting a Section 28 application.
But what makes the matters worse is that when they realized that, this Section 27 statement does not have enough, they started speaking with witnesses. The fact that they even asked for names from this witness or the complainant, which is Adams, that literally was contravening the investigations and the statutes that they are concerned with, or the statutes that govern, that gives the authority to the IDAC. This whole thing exposed one of the very important aspects about this whole situation that involves the IDAC, how they operate and everything. It exposed that literally they don't have a direction. It looks like everybody does what they want and no one is literally accountable to anybody. People just do what they feel like they want to do, which all of this then led to the charge of the fraud, defeating the ends of justice and breach of statute against those 12 people or those 12 officials, including Dineo Mokwele.
So, my difficulty is this, that you give her the affidavit. We have seen the Section 27 affidavit. It doesn't mention most of the people in the annexure. It does not say any of these people have committed offenses. You give her that affidavit, and then you say you gave her a list of names. That's all you gave her, without saying what those people did or what their involvement is. All you gave her was a list of names. What could she write back to you based only on the affidavit and the list of names? That would make you form a view that these people have committed such serious crimes that would justify an investigation against them.
The application would have had to link them to the offenses. And I would just like to see that part. But what I have to concede, Commissioner Khumalo, is in the absence of there being a link between what is said in the 27 and the list of names,
That should be the only link.
then they shouldn't be included.
They should not have been included in this annex.
But then this whole thing gets worse because now the contradictions started being exposed when the evidence leader, which is Advocate Cele, revealed the testimony of Advocate Andrea Johnson at the ad hoc committee compared with the testimony of Advocate Andrea Johnson at the Madlanga Commission regarding the Section 27 referral and everything that is involving Fadel Adams. And the lies that came first that she exposed is that this referral, she said that she didn't receive it from Adams. But she then changed the story later on that she received the referral from Adams. Hey, Andrea.
It is a Section 27 referral. There is the person who's making the referral, Honorable Chair and members, which is how Section 27 reads, must depose to an affidavit. There was no affidavit. This was Mr. Nkabinde writing and alerting us to a matter. We were approached by Mr. Adams, and when we were approached by Mr. Adams, we then asked Mr. Adams to depose to a Section 27 affidavit.
Advocate Johnson, your testimony yesterday was that IDAC received the minister's letter, and
Correct.
the minister's letter was unhelpful. And you instructed Perumal to get an affidavit from Adams. Now, that's completely different to what you said to the ad hoc, because the impression you are creating here is that it is Adams who came to IDAC, and this thing landed on IDAC's desk, when in fact yesterday we agreed that based on the minister's letter, or rather the letter from the minister's office, it is IDAC that reached out to Mr. Adams.
Malo, when I say that Mr. Adams came to IDAC, it is Mr. Adams who wanted IDAC to deal with his matter.
She didn't say at the ad hoc committee that Adams actually went to the minister went to the IDAC, then Perumal called Adams to try and solicit an affidavit so that they can say that this is a Section 27 referral. That is not what she said at the ad hoc committee. And she agreed that she lied there. But she was hiding behind that facade of I didn't remember at the time. And the second lie was in relation to the matter being referred to the National Commissioner of Police. And all of these are lies. She never ever spoke to the National Police Commissioner. She never had any conversations with the National Commissioner regarding this Section 27 referral and this Docket's interception case. Of course, the members of Parliament today had a meeting and they didn't let this lie down. Advocate Ngola decided that he's going to talk about this, and the members of Parliament were actually shocked. And Kosana even said that, you know what, I am going to definitely open a case of perjury. So now she's facing a case of perjury for lying in Parliament regarding this whole thing of the Section 27 referral and the role of Adams. You see, Mara, the mess that Adams has caused. Actually, I don't want to blame Adams. It's not Adams' fault. It's her fault because they were desperate in bringing Dumsani Khumalo down. That's what desperation do when you're trying to destroy somebody.
The head of IDAC is giving testimony on the statement she delivered in the ad hoc committee. And she has just considered that she misled that committee.
Hence, I said I'm going to open a case tomorrow.
As we speak now, the entire statement and the questions you have asked here in the committee are flighted in the commission. She's being grilled about them. She has considered.
What makes all of this even worse is the fact that Andrea Johnson, they got this case from Adams, who said that he received some information in Parliament. There was some envelope that was slided and it had information regarding crime intelligence and the corruption that is happening there with regards to the slush funds and everything. Mokwele relied on all of that information without even having to read that particular classified documents that Mr. Adams actually got. She went there and didn't even read even one thing. Guys, I just don't get it. That as the investigative directorate, how do you allow for a matter to be investigated full-blown in terms of Section 28, in terms of Section 28(1)(a)? You allow a full-blown investigation when you haven't even read one thing. Number one, she didn't read the dockets. Of which you're going to get to the dockets. Number two, even that, where the basis to which the allegations lie, she didn't bother to even read all of that. She just moved on with life as if everything is intact, everything is in order, she knows what she's doing. She just moved on without even investigating, probing.
Are you suggesting that you were given a document that was purported to be classified, or are you saying it's a hypothetical example? Should you be given a document purporting to be classified?
It was a hypothetical example.
So you have not seen the content of the documents that were pushed under Mr. Adams' door?
Correct, I have not. So this is what the information said. So I relied on his affidavit. He didn't give us classified documents, or I didn't get any classified documents. Counsel, he refers to it. He says, documents having been pushed out under my door, I relied on that information. And of course, I think he goes on further to say he relied on other information he would have got.
She just said, you know what, if Adams has the suspicions and the suspicions are reasonable, let us move forward. It doesn't matter. All of it doesn't matter. Which then leads us straight to the issue of the dockets. So we know that when the minister went and sent that email to the IDAC regarding this whole situation of the docket interception, what then happened is that the IDAC decided that it would be best for them to contact the police, specifically contacted Khumalo, which is General Mbuso Khumalo. Spoke to General Mbuso Khumalo asking for those dockets, but the dockets were not with General Mbuso Khumalo. So General Mbuso Khumalo said that the dockets were with the inspectorate, which the head of the inspectorate was Jacobs. The very Jacobs, if you've been watching my videos from the beginning, is the one that Lieutenant Lamkonazi told us about, that he said that he doesn't like the fact that he doesn't feel like there is a case here, which also, it was later revealed by...
I do believe I indicated to the ad hoc that at the ad hoc, this was the first time I saw this report of General Jacobs. It had not been made available to IDAC before.
I think it's a legal advice from Chamane. I think it's General Chamane was giving legal advice, or someone gave General Chamane legal advice that there was nothing in those dockets that can be investigated. It's just allegations that were just made by a member of parliament. So, according to Jacobs, he wrote a report regarding this particular, as a head of inspectorate, inspected the dockets and wrote a report, which Andrea Johnson never saw, and only saw at the Madlanga Commission when she was being told that, don't you know that there's actually a report regarding these very dockets that you guys were taking from Sintumole that told you about those dockets, that there is no case here. And she said that she believed that the directorate only deals with labor matters, with service delivery cases. They didn't know that they actually deal with such cases of corruption that is involving crime intelligence and everything. Then she learned that they actually do have the jurisdiction to deal with those matters. But because she didn't have all this information, hey guys, it's so disappointing that it looks like there's nothing that Andrea Johnson knows. She doesn't know the law, she doesn't know processes, she doesn't know what's the role of what institution, and what is worse is that she doesn't give herself time to even investigate. Because what they could have done is that they could have called the police and asked, guys, we heard 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Has this person 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 opened a case? Adams opened a case. He said that he opened 3 cases. Where? What's going on with those investigations? How far are those investigations? Because we have been approached as well by Mr. Adams regarding these cases. And then they will tell them that the matters are with the inspectorate, and this is what the inspectorate has said. She could have not stressed and found herself going to Vusimuzi and asking for dockets when she has no authority, of which it gets to be proven that she has no authority and jurisdiction to be dealing with those dockets as the time goes by during her testimony.
Mr. Adams gives you an affidavit, the Section 27, and he says, I've laid these complaints and nothing is happening, or they've been intercepted. Before you make the decision to investigate, Is there a reason you don't inquire with the SAPS? They are your sister agency. You, at that point, I assume you know nothing. We have this inadequate Section 27 by any interpretation, by any account. It's woefully inadequate. It contains only suspicions. But more importantly, that affidavit tells you, I have laid a complaint with the SAPS about these matters. Here are the docket numbers. How is it that your first step as a sister organization, you don't say to the SAPS, we've received this complaint, this affidavit, what is happening? Because then you will get an answer that we are investigating, we are trying to get hold of whatever's contained in that report. You would have gotten that answer and you would have known to leave it, as you say, that had we known what's happening, we would have left it at that point. How is it that that's not the first thing you do? Instead of deploying resources, and I deliberately say deploying resources because you do have a complaint that you don't have adequate resources to investigate all matters that fall within your mandate that you should investigate. How is it not the first reaction to find out where the complaint has been laid before you demand the dockets, to find out, have you received this complaint? Is anything happening? Is there anything to this concern that they've been intercepted?
My first port of call, Commissioner Baloy, was I did call. I called Lieutenant General Sentumule.
And what makes the matters worse is that even after those dockets have been received by the IDAC, it's not like she went and read those dockets. She went and gave them to Rapeso as well as Ramsamy, which is the advocate, and allowed them to be the ones that are actually perusing through those dockets together with Perumal. They went through the dockets and spoke to Adams, and Adams had to supplement some of the affidavits that wrote in those particular dockets so that it can be or can form part of the Section 27 referral or can comply with Section 27 referral. They were forcing. They were forced. They were forcing to ensure that there is a case that they have against crime intelligence. They were desperate. They need Cele to tell them, desperate. They were so desperate to ensure that Dumisani Khumalo is inside the jail pakati. That's what they wanted. Then obviously things went crazier when now we're going to the segment of Ms. Dino Mokwele's appointment. And what I love about Khumalo is that Khumalo, this matter, it's so personal to him. He does when it comes to Dino Mokwele, he just can't control himself. He just takes over and doesn't like the fact that they literally robbed this lady of her life and her future. As a black lady, I understand where Khumalo is coming from. And I will say it again and again. We work harder as black people. And harder as black women. And imagine you working hard and someone destroys the small that you've worked hard for. That person is literally destroying you. Already things are hard for you. There's allegations that when you're a black woman, you're successful. Either you've sold certain things, you've given, there's gratification that is involved. That's how hard it is sometimes to be a black woman and be having a career. So Khumalo fighting for that lady, I 100% understand, because Khumalo was mad. Spoke about the National Instructions 11th of 2017, and no one in the IDAC knows it, even Andrea. That is what I'm saying. Andrea Ayikintayazio, she knows nothing. Everything is like a shock. It's like first discovered at the Madlanga Commission. And this is about the issues of, it governs appointments, how panels are set up, candidates are secured, who appoints and who recommends, all that type of thing. And here, these people, guys.
That's me, that your investigator, because I don't think this would have been brought to your attention, but your investigators did not even pay attention to a national instruction which governs appointments at this level. And later on, when we go through the provisions of this document, you will see that it governs how panels are set up, who recommends, who approves. It governs how candidates are interviewed and scored. It governs how the recommendation to appoint is then made, and who recommends and who appoints. But your investigators say nothing about this. In fact, they pay no regard to it. Because even the definition of what is appropriate management experience, not management position, don't confuse the two. Appropriate management experience. The only place where you find that definition is in this document.
Okay.
And your investigators, for reasons that are not clear to me, paid no attention to this and proceeded instead to target a civilian and deal with her in a manner that I have serious difficulties with.
Yeah, I think she was very much cornered because she was asked, do you know what is the mandate of the IDAC? Like, what is the mandate and jurisdiction of the IDAC? What are they supposed to investigate? And then she went on the act and spoke about serious high-profile corruption matters. Hey guys, is Miss Mokwele's matter a serious high-profile case matter? Something that has never happened. Something that they think will see in the future. They prophesy. I prophesy. They prophesied on that lady, on something that they're not even sure if will happen or not. Oh guys, what a shame.
That's why you went to him, or Perumal, somebody went back to him to get further clarification or further detail. Now the grounds to support the suspicion. And all he comes out with is that paragraph 2, which is about unduly benefiting a civilian who did not qualify when there were 3 other people. Well, what does it have to do with your mandate?
Commissioner Belloy, from what I understood, and the investigators will have to give the detail, I understood as follows, that when they got those dockets, the 4 dockets, they took additional statements in each of those dockets. This would have been the one that relates to the allegations of the appointment, but that there would have been other statements that would relate to the theft of the funds, etc., that would take that matter differently. But that is the information I have, as they took additional statements, Chair, per docket. This matter for me relates to a very specific.
So, yeah, even with that, I mean, we can limit it to this specific matter, and the question remains, what is it about this specific matter? You say the other files or other dockets. That's where we will find that it falls within your mandate. But we are talking about this specific docket, that on this docket where this statement belongs, if all you have in this docket is the section 27, and then you have this statement, it looks like this is a matter that belongs to the SAPS at best. And we have that national instruction that tells the SAPS how to deal with this matter.
If I could just add that from what I understand, that after the investigations continued, the docket doesn't consist only of. Whether or not that is sufficient is a debate.
Obviously, you remember that they were assisting Bafo Adams with the dockets because they realized that the dockets were not in line. So they started fixing the dockets so that they can be in line with what they want. That is when we see this issue of the no Mokwele now starting to take form when they were fixing Mr. Adams. And obviously we're going back to that reasonableness test. It comes back again. And the fact that affidavit itself, even if it was supplemented, it was still vague. And one of the advocates, the commissioners, especially Sesibalo, said, asked as to, so none of the people told her that you can't be investigating this appointment in terms of section 27. Like, of all these advocates that are there at IDAC and prosecutors, none of them literally sat down with her and said, Yazin, there's nothing here to actually prosecute and actually deal with. None of them. They actually all agreed. And she said that no one said anything, which means all of them, they were fine with it all. Because Andrea Misho ufana no siswake Shamila Batoyi. Because Shamila Batoyi is also like her. Shamila Batoyi went and dismissed Chauke, removed Chauke from his position. And he was relying on expert opinions from other people that I don't know if they read the dockets or they didn't read the dockets. But she relied on those people. They were grilled there in Kabinde Inquiry. One of them was grilled at the Kabinde Inquiry. She never read even one docket concerning the Katomena unit cases or cases that she alleges that there was some misconduct from Chauke. She never did any of those. She just relied on people who wrote and said, Yazin, there's a case here, there's a problem. Then she relied. So it's a problem. It's a problem that is there with the NPA and the IDAC. It's their problem. They don't want to read. They deploy someone to go and read for them. Then they just what they do is to just side, go and arrest, go and charge. Hey, we are in trouble as a country. we are in serious trouble.
That is, why would you do that? And it's a question that is qualified to be asked because we are dealing with an organization which has lawyers in it. We have you who has experience in what this act deals with, the powers that it gives you. You have prosecutors, you have a lot of people. It's simply unimaginable that in your office, no one would have said to you, ID, we do not have the triggering requirements. It's simply unimaginable that no lawyer in your office said we don't have jurisdiction to investigate this. And maybe let me ask you the question directly. That you went as far as you did, does it mean no single lawyer in your office said to you, we don't have jurisdiction to investigate on the basis of that Section 27, and even after you received this affidavit, no one said, we lack jurisdiction?
No.
Oh, yeah, now she proceeds. And that is where that's when Madlanga started trapping her. Because you can't invoke Section 28, subsection 13, which is about preparatory investigations or preliminary investigations before you do your full investigations. So she invokes that, and she does her preliminary investigations. Hey guys, I'm sorry guys, this is so, I don't know if it's funny, I don't know what my emotions are doing to me, but I just can't stop laughing because I'm shocked about this type of behavior. So she never read anything but approves for preliminary investigations in terms of Section 28 to be conducted, 2813. Then obviously they do their preliminary investigations, check reasonable grounds to continue with the full investigations. And they have to have sufficient evidence that is collected at that time. They need to subpoena, get documents, do that preliminary investigation that they have to do, right?
That date is key because there is a reason why the statute distinguishes between preparatory investigations and actual investigations and provides that you may not do investigations unless duly authorized. You grant the authorization. And Section 28 sub 13 allows you to conduct preparatory investigations to enable you to determine whether or not you should authorize. Why I say it's important, it appears to me, and perhaps I'm looking at it wrong, that IDAC used the mechanics of Section 2813 to conduct a full-blown investigation, which would render it wholly unauthorized. And then to post facto grant the authorization on the 30th of May, which opened the way for applying for arrest warrants and actually arresting them. So no investigation was conducted after the 30th of May. It was all before the 30th of May. And that has got to be because there are benefits to hiding under the cover of a preliminary investigation, conduct a full-blown investigation, cure that defect by a late authorization, and in less than 4 weeks, be ready to arrest. It's quite curious that you end there. Because if that's how it happens, I'll applaud the efficiencies within IDAC.
I will come back with the response, commissioners, if that is fine.
That's the weird thing about this preliminary investigation of theirs. It still looks like a full investigation, but it's a preliminary investigation. And why does it look like a full investigation? Because a full team is part of the preliminary process. Hey guys, I know. A full team is part of the preliminary process. And that's the weird part. When the preliminary is done, and they decide that now they're going to do a full investigation, within 3 weeks, they arrest Abu Kumalo. Within 3 weeks, they've gathered everything to go and arrest Kumalo because of those appointments, corruption, fraud, and whatever the case may be. Only to find out now at the Madlanga Commission that Miss Mokwele was overqualified for that job. She even apologized and realized that she was wrong for all of those things. All of these things are red flags. And I love what Advocate Cece Baloyi said. She said that, you know what, by the end of this segment of the IDAC, we will understand what is the motive behind. Because there's no way that there's no motive. You guys can do all of these things and there's no motive. There's no case. You proceed. You do preliminary investigations that look like full investigations in terms of Section 28.13. Then you come back, you do another investigation in terms of Section 28.1a, which is full investigations. And after 3 weeks, you arrest the person. All of these are red flags. Ngapha, you are fixing the complainant, you are fixing statements, adding things, you are looking for names. She doesn't deserve suspension. I think suspension is lenient. She deserves arrest and she deserves to be fired. Suspension is too lenient, but because of labor laws, there's nothing we can do.
I hope you understand. What I'm saying, yeah. So we still have to answer that question.
Correct.
And hopefully your statements will the A1 statements will put us at peace. That there was a basis for that. But as matters stand, I must say, from where I'm sitting, that with everything that is before us and until we get something else, then the exercise of the power to investigate and to charge an offense of gratification under PRECA was exercised without proper consideration, without facts placed properly, and I underline properly, placed before you for this and the prosecutor and all the people that I've listed to formulate that charge. On the face of it, the power that you have, all of you that I've listed, you exercise it for an ulterior purpose, and hopefully by the end of the evidence of the IDAC witnesses, we will find out what was the purpose. That for me is the real issue here. Do you have anything to say to that? Thank you.
I love even what Advocate Miss Cele even said. She said preliminary investigations was like, it was used as a pretext, so that they can channel the complaints by Mr. Adams to fall under their jurisdiction, even if they don't. That referral of Section 27, guys, to begin with, it was never in their jurisdiction. But they were able to channel it so that it's in their jurisdiction. And that was a pretext, doing those preliminary investigations, fixing him, getting all those dockets, getting the list of people investigating, getting to see the qualifications of Dino Mokwele. All of this was a pretext so that they can fix this Section 27, so that when they do the full investigation, maybe the Section 27 is now compliant. They still failed because these were trumped up charges. Are you being to begin with?
To use that process for, which is the point that Ms. Cele was making, that you authorize a preliminary investigation, but that preliminary investigation, in fact, is used to conduct a full-blown investigation. Your explanation of it proves exactly that they use the pretext of your authorization to assist, make a case that places Mr. Adams's complaint into your jurisdiction when in fact from the get-go it didn't fall within your jurisdiction, at least not on his Section 27. Do you accept that, if that's what happened?
I accept it.
Okay, thank you.
Then now enters the issue of the qualifications. Because in the preliminary investigations, if you guys were doing the proper preliminary investigations, of which the preliminary investigations from my timeline here, they started, if I'm not mistaken, in May. They started, yes, I think they said in May, because 26th of June, that's when they did the full investigation. They did the full investigations. I think they started in May, if I'm not mistaken. But what they did is that they did their preliminary investigations. My question remains, if they did their preliminary investigations, why is it that today Andrea Johnson was exposed that she doesn't even know the qualifications of Dino Mokwele? Because when you do the preliminary investigations, and one of the charges is that this lady was appointed unlawfully, isn't it that you'll want to go and find out how is she qualified, get her transcript from university, get all those things, like the degrees and everything, to prove that this person is actually qualified for this job, and read that vis-a-vis with the post. But the guys, they must hire me and you. They must rather hire us. Because these things are just simple things that any human being can make. You don't have to have supernatural powers or supernatural wisdom or knowledge. It's something that is easy to understand. You just go there and you do these things and, you compare. If you compare, you see, man, this person probably doesn't qualify. Then the big question still remains. It's not answered. What crime did Miss Mokwele commit? What fraud did she commit? And guess her answer? No, ma'am. She said it was a team that briefed her and she trusted them explicitly. You see what I mean? This is the exact Shamila Batoyi strategy. When Shamila Batoyi was asked there at the cabinet, because she couldn't answer anything. And even ended up saying that she's walking away, saying she needs a new legal advice, new legal representatives.
Yes.
We limit ourselves to investigation that leads to arrests and charges. What fraud has Ms. Mokwele committed that justifies you recommending to the DPP that she must be charged with fraud and state capture and all of those things?
Again, I relied on the briefing from my team, and it's going to go back to what counsel had asked me, that I trusted them implicitly. I now see that the facts as I may have received them then, and I'd have to go back and look at it, were incorrect.
And they misled the court in many respects because the impression they created was that the panel just did as it pleases.
But that's the thing. This is all worrying because the senior people, all of them, they were supervising the panel. They were never charged. They approved everything. They approved even the appointment of Miss Mokwele. In terms of PRECA, that offense that they wanted to charge her of gratification, which is something that's going to happen in the future, a future capture of crime intelligence. If I didn't hear the testimony and she told me her story, me and her, just the two of us, I don't believe in many things. I just believe in God. I would have said, girl, let us go to the river either way. You see the river that has water, that falls like this, the waterfall. We're going to stand there, man, in bath. Because electronics,
whatever. I'm trying to understand. I hear what you are saying is restating what is contained in 25.3. You're not giving me a basis for that conclusion. You're already concluding that she will be involved by virtue of occupying that position. And I want to understand what in the investigation leads you, by you I mean IDAC, to conclude that you give her that job, she's in the Secret Service Fund. And therefore she will be looting state funds to pay. She'll be colluding, I correct myself, I don't know with who with, but to loot state funds and purchase properties. What in those files should we look out for to support the conclusion that you draw, the fear that you express at 25.3?
I'll just have to be given an opportunity to go back and to look into the evidence.
No, you must have had it. For you to submit on oath, you confirmed the correctness of this statement when we started. Correct. So you must have an idea, and I suggest that perhaps you start sharing it with us. Might not be firmed up. When you return, you will give us the full now facts, chapter and verse. But for now, when you wrote 25.3 in relation specifically to Mrs. Mokwele, on what basis did you conclude that she was going to collude in the looting of state funds with whomsoever?
Commissioners, I ask for a moment.
Yes, please.
Arbitrary decision to actually charge someone for something that they're going to do in the future that you are not even sure of, and you are using other cases, say previous matters, and the crime intelligence environment would have corrupted her. What makes you think I'm that weak that I'll be corrupted by the environment? So that is basically some of the things that we discussed. I know I might have forgotten some of the things. I might have forgotten some of the important elements that you think were important for you that maybe I couldn't capture. Please comment them in the comment section down below. Tell me, what do you think that I have left out that is very important in this particular testimony?
So what is the basis of your assumption that she would have done it in an unlawful manner?
that she would have been approached to make monies available under circumstances where she would not have made them available.
But how do you know that?
That was because of that environment, and because of the fact that from previous matters, not in IDAC, that is how funds were looted. Out of accounts where the funds are within a covert environment. So motivations would be put in for access of that money.
You are being, if I may come in, no.
Let us then quickly move to Matlala because it's a short testimony, but I just wanted us to look at some of the mistakes and the exposing that happened. That was done by the legal representatives of Matlala. Guys. To make it as a disclaimer, I'm not a fan of Advocate Annelien Heaven. I truly don't like her that much. And even though I think maybe the reason why I don't like her is because we have a lot of similarities. And I speak like her sometimes, and people might think we are Luanabo, like you are fighting. But that's just how some of us speak, and it can be intimidating to other people. So I think maybe that's why I don't like her. But today I was so impressed by her cross-examination. Actually, she takes the trophy. And I like the fact that she stuck to the point. She didn't just go around and talk about trees, and she just stuck to the point. And I loved her cross-examination. But it exposed Mr. Cele. And I don't know if Mr. Cele was already tired or what was going on with him. But in my view, that's just my view, guys. I feel like she did an amazing job in that cross-examination and was able to poke loopholes and valid loopholes in the testimony of Mr. Cele. Yes, Mr. Cele had a strong comeback and was able to strongly speak about his side of the story, but still Advocate was able to poke big holes in that testimony. I'll first start with the issue of the firearms and asking her about the rules in terms of firearms. And she spoke about how the rules are, Mr. Cele, and how it works. But he said something that if someone points a firearm at him and shoots him, then he will point at the firearm at that person and try to shoot them. And I think that is a response that probably most of us know, and even refer to that move as what? Self-defense. But I think that is very problematic. I don't know if in those situations that actually applies, but there should be, when you're going to invoke self-defense, guys, you can't invoke self-defense for at someone who's just pointing at you. You can't invoke self-defense. Hence, if a burglary, like there's a burglary that is happening in your house, there's thieves that are coming into your house, you can't just go out, take a gun and shoot at them and say that is self-defense. You have to first fire a warning shot to tell this person that Pumak mean. Then if that person does not heed to the firing shot, then that's when you're going to fire at them. But I understand, at the heat of that moment, you guys are pointing at each other like this. It'll be shoot. It won't be a situation of you must fire a warning shot on it, but there is requirements that you have to satisfy for you to raise the defense of self-defense. It doesn't just apply to you automatically because someone attacked you. Especially self-defense and necessity. Those two defense in criminal law, there's certain requirements that you have to satisfy, which I don't want to get into that. This video is already long. It's going to be longer. But there's certain requirements that you have to satisfy for you to invoke that. So I think that's one of the loopholes that she pointed to. And that can suggest that high chances Cele attacked before these people even attacked him. Because she even spoke about something that these people in the BMW went and attacked the Golf and the Ferrari. And now he still attacked those people. Even though there is still that argument that it is his job to guard that place, is a security guard. But also secondly, he was shot naing Mwake. So he had to protect himself because of the shooting. But the way the advocate was able to construe everything, it looked like this man literally attacked these individuals without them attacking him.
According to you, one of the shooters was injured.
Ngabe iqiniso Mnumzane Cele ukuthi uye ngofakazi bakho uma uqala ukuthula ufakazi noma usobuza umbuzo omunye wabameli babamangalelwa wena uye wathi omunye walaba bekade benhlasela bendudula uye walimala.
Yebo, ngakuqinisekisa mhlambe lokho ngoba ngisho ngangikade ngidubula ngibhekise ngakubona kungenzeka omunye abe walimala.
Yes, and I confirm that because when they were firing shots and I fired back, possible that one of them got injured.
And that injury he sustained, according to your evidence, the way I understood, before he got back into the BMW and it drove off, correct?
futhi kuya ngobufakazi bakho lokho kulimala ukuthole ngaphambi kokuthi abuyele ku BMW bese bayahamba.
Yebo.
That is correct.
Now, this is quite vital, this piece of evidence that you were certain one of the shooters got struck with a bullet, got injured, and that happened before he got into the BMW. This you also told the police, correct?
Balokhu kumqoka ukuthi ke wadubula emuva inhlamvu enye yashaya omunye walimala ngaphambi kokuthi angene futhi ku BM bese bayahamba ngendlela bekade kumqoka kubaluleke ngakhona uye watshela namaphoyisa kunjalo.
Yebo kunjalo.
That is correct.
Then she spoke about that 9mm firearm that this guy used and the fact that he was lying down or he was standing up shooting, all of it. That lady, I'm not gonna lie, at this moment I like her. Sometimes, guys, you have to acknowledge someone when they are good at it. You don't have to like me, but if I'm good at something, I'm good at it and you can't take it away from me. There's someone that I used to watch on YouTube. I literally didn't like her perspectives, but her videos, her delivery, Jesus. One day we'll talk about that content creator because she's a big inspiration for this channel. She I didn't like it, but umuntu me good nje. And that is what is going on with this lady. The way she changed everything. And then she spoke about the factual background, like the matter, what happened at the scene, everything. Asked about the scene, the shooting, and who this guy spoke to, and him seeing the CCTV footage, all of that information. Something that was drawn. I don't know who drew that thing. Then he started with the investigation that number one, it looks like there was no Ferrari. Meaning this Ferrari thing was made up. There was no Ferrari, of which I think that was a lie. I think there was a Ferrari. Number two is the fact that it looks like that situation was a situation of shashalaza. Because he was relying on hearsay, meaning hearsay that made his testimony. And we know in such cases, you can't rely on hearsay evidence. And that's what she was proving, that the cases, it's like hearsay. You heard people saying that Josie Banyoni was shot. You never saw it yourself. You heard from people. Did you go and double check? So you heard from people and you relied on that hearsay. And now we are hearing a hearsay statement, a hearsay testimony regarding the shooting that Josie Banyoni was shot in that particular altercation.
Wezwa kuvela komunye umuntu ukuthi ke umnumzana Sibanyoni uye wadutshulwa wase uyalimala. Yebo noma cha?
Yebo.
Yes.
Who told you that?
Ubani ukutshele lokho?
Abanye abantu like ababelapha abathi wabusibanyoni odubulekile ngithi mina angimazi.
Was informed by other people that were there. They said it's Mr. Sibanyoni that had been shot, and I said I don't know.
So did you have a discussion at the scene with other people about what was happening there during the shootout? If I could call it a shootout.
Manje uye waba nengxoxo nabanye abantu khona laphayana endaweni yesigameko lapho kade ngidubulana khona mangasebiza kanjalo.
Yebo.
Yes.
Then she destroyed him by talking about the 3 statements that this guy deposed of, especially in relations to the cartridge cases and the firearms and the bullets that he fired at. He fired 15 bullets. And according to their ballistic report, when they saying that they consulted with ballistic reports, there were no bullets that come from a 9mm firearm, meaning that a guy might have tampered with the scene. And since he didn't tell the police that he actually shot at those guys who were shooting at the other guys, that in and of itself, probably there's something that he's trying to push there. And in his 3 statements, there's none, not even one statement where all of that has been proven. Hey guys, I'm still saying,
Again, I do not see any mention of the fact that you fired shots at anybody in self-defense, correct?
Nakulesi statement yebo uyakhuluma ukuthi ke uye wadubula ku BMW emhlophe nabagibeli bayo kodwa mangiqhubeka ngifunda sonke istatement akukho lapho wena uchaza khona ukuthi ke ngidubule kulabantu ngizivikela. Yes.
And indeed, there's nothing in the statements to a point that Cele ended up saying, "Hi, this is a lie." And these people they're pushing a certain agenda. The police officers, they're typing something I didn't say. It just became a serious mess. Cele didn't even know where to hide at that point.
Umuntu ekade enza le document, i-points.
I would humbly ask the court, since this thing has already started, the person that formulated this document is a police officer.
And angeke athande naye mangathiwa uyaboshwa kusasa eboshela into angazange azazi ayimenshini imoto into engayo.
And he wouldn't be happy if it were to be said that he gets arrested tomorrow, being arrested for something that he does not know. Kind of such a big thing.
Ngizocela ukuthi umthetho wala eMzansi uvikele mina nezingane zami. Le ithuna leli inkosi enkantolo.
What the crux of the arguments of Advocate Heaven is that there was no 9mm parabellum that was dispatched to Ballistics, and that Mugai shot at the scene, at those people, cleaned the scene, and took the firearm and hid it so that it doesn't get in trouble. And then said that there was no Ferrari, of which I think this is a lie, because I think the Ballistics did take that guy's firearm. I think there's a high chance that they took the firearm, and they found those cartridges in the floor, and that comprises of them, the cartridge cases.
I-crime scene athi beyingekho iFerrari endaweni yesigameko uzovumelana nami ukuthi lokho akusili iqiniso akusinto right.
Hayi ngabe kwamampunge.
Yes, those will be like.
And she said there was no Ferrari, and just raise some of the issues that I think are very important regarding the testimony of Mr. Cele. And it went back to what I've been telling you guys about his character. They complained about his character, and they said that because of that, he should not be a witness that they should rely on. But nonetheless, it was a very interesting cross-examination from this advocate. I'm not gonna lie, but I still don't like her.
Bazama ukudubula kubagibeli beFerrari neBolts kunjalo.
Yebo kunjalo.
Correct? And that is the direction that you at that point were shooting at, correct? Ngaleso sikhathi kulo hlangothi ubudubula ubhekise kulona kunjalo.
Hayi akusinjalo.
But correct?
So why am I not correct? If they're standing by the Ferrari and the Golf, busy shooting, you shooting at them whilst they're standing there, why do you say I'm not correct?
Kungani uthi akukhonjalo ngoba bami uthe wena bami lapha eduze kwe-BMW bazama ukudubula wena udubula khona kungani uthi akusinjalo?
Awusho phela babengabi bedwa. Babe u-3 then bese kuzoba nemoto la babehamba ngayo.
It is because they were not alone. It was 3 of them. Then there was a car that they were with.
So just listen to it. Your evidence was quite clear. At the time you were shooting at them, they were by the Ferrari Golf, endeavoring, or not endeavoring, they were shooting at the occupants of the Ferrari and Golf. Correct. That had evidence to the court. Few seconds ago.
Ukuthi wena nkathi bobadodubula kubona bona bangaphandle kwe-BMW beseduze kwe-Ferrari bedubula kubagibeli be-Ferrari ilokho niqeda ukusho kuleli daba kunjalo ngisho njalo. Yes,
so it's logical, sir. If they're there, they're not trying to shoot at these occupants, they're there by the Golf and the Ferrari. When you shot at them, that was the direction at which you shot. There where the Ferrari was parked in the Golf.
Manje uma ngabe kunjalo laba abagibeli be-BM ebekade bedubula baphambi kwe-Ferrari bezama noma bedubula kubagibeli abaphakathi kwe-Ferrari ne-Golf, wena uma udubula kubona ulo hlangathi odubula ngakulo lelo abakilo i-Ferrari ne-Golf kunjalo. Correct.
And I'll still scrutinize some of the things that she said. But today, she made really good points. And remember, the standard of criminal cases, you need to prove beyond reasonable doubt. And so far, there is some loopholes and doubts that the defense was able to probe and poke. Nonetheless, guys, this video is already longer, and that was not intentional. Maybe I should try separate these proceedings, ne? Maybe I should try separate and maybe do a video for Madlanga and do a video for Matlala, because I think when I combine them, they become a movie, and I don't want you guys to watch movies. Nonetheless, let me hear you guys what you think about the testimony of Andrea Johnson and what the president is planning to do with the suspension of Andrea Johnson, and what you think about the Matlala trial and the cross-examination of the legal representatives of Vusimuzi Matlala. Nonetheless, guys, I will see you on my next upload. Bye.